Hi, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, back with another video on real estate. This video I want to talk about why you should always use a real estate agent when you sell a house. So I run investformore.com. It's a real estate blog and website with about 200,000 views a month. I've been a licensed realtor since 2001. I'm also an avid real estate investor with 11 rental properties, and I've fixed and flipped over 100 homes in my career. When it comes to selling houses, I suggest a seller always uses a real estate agent. The main reason being, even though it may appear as though you save money by not paying a commission when you sell a house yourself, in the long run, many times, it actually costs you more money than you're saving. So let's go over the basics of how it might work when you list a house with a realtor and when you list it yourself. First thing I want to say is there are no standard, typical set commissions. Everything is negotiable. Every real estate agent charges different commissions all the time. To use an example, HUD, which sells government foreclosures, pays a 3% commission to the listing agent and a 3% commission to the buyer's agent. So we'll use HUD's example of a commission, but again, it's all negotiable. If a seller was to list their home, they would pay the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So the listing agent represents the seller. He helps them, set a price, get their home ready to sell, determine the market value, advertise the home, market the home, complete contracts, complete the closing process. It helps select a title company. There are many things the listing agent does. The biggest thing the listing agent does, the most important thing, is they determine value. That is what's going to make you the most money as a home seller. If you list a home for too much money, you're probably going to end up losing money on the transaction over listing it for the right amount. The reason is, when you list a home for too much, let's say the house is worth $200,000. You decide you want to get more money out of it and see what happens, so you list it for $225,000. Well, the home sits for 6 weeks, you get no offers, very few showings. You decide, okay, we'll lower the price, we lower it down to $210,000. You still get very few showings, no offers. Another 6 weeks goes by. Finally, you drop the price to $200,000. It's like, okay, we're down to $200,000. This is where it should have been priced to start with. We'll get our offer and we'll get it sold. Well, it doesn't sell at $200,000. Not because the market has changed very much, but because that home now has a stigmatization against it. Many realtors, many buyers may see the house was for sale for 3 months, 4 months, and say, what's wrong with this house? Why hasn't it sold at this price? It seems like a decent price, but I don't think, someone else must have seen something wrong with it, or else it'd be sold already. Now, it seems like a silly thing for people to think these thoughts, for that to affect their house buying process, but it does. Selling a house, buying a house is a very emotional process. It's the biggest purchase most people make in their lives. And many times decisions are not reached based solely on facts, but many times emotions. And if you see a house for sale for an extended period of time, you automatically think there's something wrong with it. There must be something I missed, so let's move on to another house. I see this many times. I've done it myself on my own houses where I tried to squeeze out a little too much money. The best bet is to price it right the first time, because that's when you'll get the highest price possible. And if you list the property for too low, I've seen this strategy as well, where people try and get multiple offers, create a bidding war. Maybe they'll get more than the house is worth by, creating a sense of scarcity. The problem with this strategy is I also think it leaves money on the table. We'll use our example of the $200,000 home. The seller decides to sell it for $180,000, or list it for $180,000, create a sense of scarcity, multiple offers. Maybe people create a bidding war and bid up to $210,000. What happens is those low prices attract the people who are looking for great deals. Many investors, maybe owner-occupant buyers who've been waiting for just the perfect deal to come up. They don't want to pay market value. and you do create a bidding war, and you do create multiple offers. But if those people are looking for this great deal, why in the world would they pay more than they know the home is worth? You're probably going to get 5 or 6 offers that are below asking price. You're probably getting a couple of offers real close to asking price, and maybe 1 or 2 that are higher. You might get an offer for $190, maybe even $195 if you're lucky. But you have to think about that. That buyer's still paying $15,000 more than you're asking. And yes, it's still a good deal based on what the home is worth at $200,000. But there's still that emotional part of the buyer's brain saying, why am I paying so much more than the list price? Do I have to pay that much more than the list price? You know, it turns into a guessing game on whether you're bidding on what the home is actually worth or what you think other people will be bidding so you can still get a good deal. I list many bank-owned properties, many HUD homes where they're priced low because of an appraisal or some other reason the bank just wants to get rid of it. In almost every case, the home would have sold for more money if it was priced at the correct price, what the home was worth, instead of low and trying to create a bidding war. So if you price the home right, say you price it $204,900 or $207,900, which is very close to what you think it's worth at $200,000, then you'll attract that buyer who is looking for that home price of, you know, they want a decent deal, they want to pay what the home is worth, they're fine with that, they want a nice house, they're not looking to get an awesome deal, they know the home is within the range of what values are, and they say, hey, look at this house, $207,900, $204,900, we can offer them $200,000, maybe $195,000, do some negotiating. Many times, you'll get that offer in the first 3 weeks for the price you know it's worth, and you'll walk away with the most money. That's why a real estate agent is so important, because if you use an experienced real estate agent, they've spent years and years and years learning how to price homes, learning what the market trends look like, and figuring out the best place to price your house. Trying to do that yourself will take hours and hours and hours of time, and you still won't have 1/100th of the experience of a good realtor who's been doing it for an entire career. So using that example of what HUD pays on a commission, 3% of $200,000 is $6,000. That would be for the listing agent. Again, that's negotiable. It could be more, it could be less. But you also have to pay the buyer's agent in most cases, which might be another 3%. So that would be $12,000 total. So people assume, oh, I can save, $12,000 on commissions by not using a real estate agent. And even if I price it too low or too high, I'm probably not going to overshoot the mark by that much. But people don't consider how these costs break down. For one thing, if you sell your house for sale by owner and try and save that full commission, many times buyers are represented by their own real estate agent or realtor. The reason is typically the seller pays the buyer's agent and the buyer does not have to pay them, so why in the world would they not use the buyer's agent? The buyers will want to be represented by an agent in most cases because it's the biggest purchase of their life. They want to make sure everything's done correctly, they don't miss anything, and nothing goes wrong during the deal. So most people who try and sell their home for sale by owner will end up paying a buyer's agent if they do complete a successful for sale by owner sale. So you're not really saving $12,000, you're only saving $6,000 when you consider you will most likely have to pay a buyer's agent. Then we have the problem of marketing your property. Now you may have done a lot of research, you may know how to market your property, create flyers, put a for sale by owner sign up, put it in the paper, put it in Craigslist. But how long is that going to take you to figure out? How long is that going to take you to do? And is everybody still seeing that house? And the answer is no. The best way houses sell is by being listed in the multiple listing service, which is only available to real estate agents. So if you have your house for sale by owner, or for sale sign in the yard, and maybe you advertise on Craigslist, I would estimate 10% of the people looking for houses in that area may actually see it. maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but most of them are depending on their real estate agent to find houses for sale in the MLS for them and send them those houses, and they're going to miss your house. They won't ever see it. So the option, you can use a limited service real estate firm to put the house in MLS for you. Solution solved. Your house is in MLS. Great marketing. It'll sell. Here's the problem with the limited service companies. For one thing, they only put it in MLS for you. They don't do any of the paperwork, handle any showings. So buyers agents, realtors will be calling you all day long to show your house, to set up showings. They will still charge you a fee. It might be a couple $100. Usually I think it's $400 or $500. So now you're not really saving that $6,000 anymore. You're saving maybe $5,000, maybe a little more. And you're attracting buyers who are represented by a real estate agent while you are not. So if you do sell your house to a buyer who has a real estate agent, who do you think has the advantage in that transaction? You, who does not have much experience selling houses, does not know about real estate contracts, does not know what the typical costs are as far as selling a house, or the buyer who has a realtor representing them, who can write the contracts, knows what's typical for the seller to pay, what not to pay, and all the ins and outs of real estate. That buyer's agent is working for the buyer. They're not working for you, and they're going to do what's in the buyer's best interest, not what is in your best interest. So let's think about if you've actually saved any money. You may have reduced the commission you're paying by $5,000, but you don't have any help pricing the home, so you could easily overprice it or underprice it, which could cost you at least $10,000 very easily if you do either one of those. So you've just completely wiped out your savings and cost you money. You are most likely going to sell to a buyer who's represented by a real estate agent. That real estate agent knows what the customary costs are, is representing the buyer and not you. There are at least $5,000 in things the buyer's agents could do to help their buyer out, as far as inspections, as far as closing costs, negotiating for the appraisal, negotiating for inspections. In general, that just wiped out any commission savings you just had as well. Now, we haven't even talked about the time it's going to take you to learn how to do all these things, to review the contract, to market the home, to take great pictures, to hire the limited service MLS company, and you're losing money. So before you list your home yourself and think you're saving a ton of money by not using a realtor or a real estate agent, think about if it's worth the time, the hassle, the trouble, and in the end you're most likely not going to save any money. It's going to cost you money. I'm not trying to scare people. I am a realtor. I'm obviously biased. But the facts are, I know many investors who even have their real estate license and they still use another realtor to list the house for them because they don't have the time to figure the correct prices or the time to market the property correctly, and it's worth it to them to pay an agent because in the end they know they'll make more money by using a professional who knows the market, knows what they're doing, and will look out for their best interest. So thanks a lot for watching. I have a lot more information on investformore.com. If you check out the description of this video, I'll send a link to the article I wrote about this subject, and talk to you soon.